Good evening and welcome to the final Beyond the Front Page program for the fall 2018 semester here at KU Community College and broadcast on Spectrum, Verizon, Fios, the Auburn Regional Media Access, better known as ARMA, as well as Win 89.1, the college's radio station. I'm Guy Cosentino, your host. Tonight we have a show that we wanted to bring you 2 weeks ago, but ran into some sound difficulties. But we're delighted to have them back in the studio today. But at the end of May, it was announced that the Hospice of the Finger Lakes, that has served this community for more than 2 decades and has had worked out a merger agreement with Hospice of Central New York that is to take effect, I think, on December 24th. This has been in the works for some time, and we have asked back into our studio Terry KLINE, the Executive Director of Hospice of the Finger Lakes, as well as 2 members of her board, Chair Tim Callahan and Board Secretary Doug Parker, who's been here before with us, to explain the merger and what we can expect from them, and talk about a fundraiser that's this Thursday. But even though we might show this on Saturday and Sunday, you can still send them money, and that website will come up on the to give for Light Up a Life. So welcome back. Thank you for your patience. You canceled the first 3 times. I only canceled the last time. So welcome back. For those who don't know, what is Hospice of the Finger Lakes?
Hospice of the Finger Lakes is a program of care. We care for terminally ill patients and their families in their homes and in several facilities in our community. Matthew House, 3 of the nursing homes, the Commons, Finger Lakes Center for Living, and Northwoods down in Moravia.
And do you charge for these services?
So most of our patients have insurance reimbursement of some sort. In recent years, that's gotten a little bit lower.
Right, okay.
But anyway, so we don't per se charge for services. That's all, part of our program.
So where you can get insurance reimbursement, you do. Where you can't, you don't.
75% of our funding is through insurance reimbursement, and then other revenue, 25% of the funding.
For our fundraising activities.
So if you're in Auburn, most people would say they look at Hospice and they look at Matthew House, and sometimes they get it and sometimes they don't. You're different organizations, but you work to the same end.
We work very much together. Matthew House is a 2-bed comfort care home, and they're one of our partner agencies. Our nurses, social work, pastoral staff all go into Matthew House and provide the medical management for the residents that are at Matthew House. So all the residents at Matthew House are served by Hospice.
And how long has the agency been around?
30 years.
30 years. I said
30 years this year.
3 decades.
Volunteer before that, actually, for about 3 years.
And how long have you been executive director?
27 years.
And you were with them before? I
was a social worker part-time since 1988 when we started.
And how did both of you join the board? What happened? How did you get here?
I originally got exposed to the exceptional services of hospice when my mother passed away, and then several years later I was with a group from Welch Allen that came. We did a day of volunteering, and we happened to be assigned to Hospice of the Finger Lakes. We spent the day there with a large group, and then thereafter I brought my children back a few times to do chores with Terry, and she finally said, "Hey, would you consider joining the board?"
So how long have you been on the board?
8 years and 2 years as president.
And Mr. Parker, I know you have a similar way, but how long have you been on the board?
I've been on for 10 years.
How'd you get involved?
My sister took ill in 2006, and I turned to Hospice to bring her back home again and for the final days of her life. And I just felt that I was indebted to them for the services they provided me.
And are most of your board members people who have benefited, at least family-wise, or know somebody who's benefited from hospice care?
Yes. I think a fair share of them, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So how large a staff do you have?
We have 21 staff members, 5 full-time, 11 nurses. Dr. Vunas is our medical director, who's been with us 25 years. We have a lot of long-term committed staff.
And that's separate from, those 25 are separate from, you have a lot of volunteers too.
We have 100 volunteers, including the board. And 50 of those volunteers staff our thrift shop over at Willard Chapel.
And so, any idea how many people you serve in a given year?
This year, actually, we have served through today 178. Last year, in 2017, we served 157 for the entire year, so we're up nearly 25%.
And part of that is because your average stays have been different. Am I correct on that?
Low length of stay. You are right. So we have had a much lower length of stay. Probably half of the patients that we've served, we've had less than 10 days on the program. That's impacted our insurance reimbursement, our funding, so much so that that's down by about $100,000.
So why is it shorter days now? I mean,
It's everywhere. It's across the nation
Okay.
that it's shorter days. There's so many programs now from when we started. There's palliative care programs in the hospitals. There's more treatments available to people. There's also stricter rules and regulations for coming on to hospice.
Okay.
So I think you have to really pinpoint a diagnosis. For many years we were able to take someone that was older and declining on for generalized debility. Now you have to have a specific diagnosis. So it does limit.
Any idea in the 30 years how many people you've served?
We've served nearly 3,700.
3,700. Okay. So you were averaging 120 roughly per year, and this year you're really high on that. Your staff nurses, do they all have professional backgrounds?
They're either RNs or LPNs.
Okay.
The LPNs, with the exception, one of our RNs is a personal care, go out and provide the personal care, the bathing, the dressing, the assistance with meals if that's needed, and companionship, just an emotional support. And then our RNs are the professional, the case managers that provide the assessments of the patients, making sure that their symptoms are well controlled, making sure they have the appropriate medications in the house, the appropriate equipment.
Right. So where do you get to, what's your funding? How much is your budget annually?
A little over $1 million annually. 75% of that comes from reimbursement.
Okay.
The other 25 comes from fundraising that, and it's very generous individuals who have golf tournaments, bowling tournaments, runs. We do a hospice run that's our only true hospice fundraiser. Others are coming from folks around the community who decide to do these fundraisers. The big wiffle ball tournament, for example, and I'm hoping I'm not stealing your thunder,
No.
raised $27,000 this year.
Wiffle ball.
Wiffle ball.
And then organizations that are making offering grants to us, like Welch Allen and our thrift shop.
Excuse me. So you get some funding from the United Way, and I know whatever your allocation is, they get more donations earmarked for over that every year, it seems. So you get United Way funding, you have some insurance reimbursement. So do these organizations, I'm going to pick on wiffle ball because it sounds so fun. Was wiffle ball somebody who came to you?
Yes.
How did...
that is, here's the thank you that went out. Those are the Ward and Parker families. And we served Mike Parker, who he and his committee are the organizers. His grandparents were both served, Robert and Marjorie Ward were served by hospice. I think that they would let me tell you because it's very public. But anyway, he holds this in their backyard. It's a backyard wiffle ball.
It's a mini Fenway Park. I'm surprised it's Fenway Park, but anyway.
And the sponsors are unbelievable, but they do a fantastic job.
So is this an annual event?
It's the 6th annual this year.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's from the Bluefield Classic team. So somebody like that came to you and said, we want to do this. So you get a lot of people and organizations, separate from what we'll talk about with Light Up a Life, that really come to you and say, listen, we're going to raise money and we want to give you money.
Yes.
Yeah. Mike Poorman for 10 years had a golf tournament.
Okay.
That raised a tremendous amount of money. He also provided services to us, and then in the last couple of years, he had other fundraisers that went together with that. Really incredibly generous people around the community.
And built a courtyard that's left a legacy after his 10th year, built a small, well, it's a beautiful courtyard out in front of our office that...
up on Corporate Drive.
Yeah, and that there are maybe 100 bricks installed that have been named in memory of someone.
So besides the end-of-life care that you provide, I know you said you have a thrift shop. What is that operation?
That's been in operation 8 years, and we started with one room. And now we have 2 over at Willard Chapel, rooms 6 and 7. One's dedicated totally to women's boutique, and the other is giftware, men's and children's clothing. We have terrific volunteers that staff that shop 3 days a week, and then special sales on the weekends. And then we have just amazing donors, because it's all donations that come in. You know, this morning, I just went over very briefly this morning to drop off the cash bag, and we had a woman who faithfully brings in sewing supplies and fabrics, and you know, people are just give us beautiful, beautiful items.
I ended up buying a nativity set there a couple of years
Okay.
ago. It was like a nativity that my mom purchased, which you know, we separate those from the other people in the family get them, and I thought, well, I'll buy one so that somebody else in my family can have the exact same match that she bought.
Thank you.
At the Family Bargain Center in the 1950s or 1960s. So it was odd, and I came home. My wife said, "What did you buy now?" Because this wasn't eBay. So
we have another one.
So you also have Camps Heart Ahoy.
And we've done that for several years. The past couple of years, we've been referring over to Hospice's bereavement camp.
But what is it?
Sorry. So that's a bereavement camp for children, specifically for children. And we, for many years, partnered with the YMCA and our Matthew Binkevich, who does our pastoral and bereavement care. He would organize that. And we were up at Camp Ayahuasca. Then we were in our backyard at Hospice, which was great. And just in recent years, we've been partnering with Syracuse with their program.
Well, marvelous program. I have a niece and a nephew, unfortunately, who had to utilize those services. Just wonderful. I remember you sent a photo.
Yeah.
I thought it was what a great touch of Hospice. So there's going to be a little bit of change. Still December 24th. Is that the game plan?
December 23rd is the
23rd.
Yes,
Okay.
the close date.
So. What is going on?
So we're going to be merging with Hospice of Central New York, and this was really driven by the many new regulatory mandates that are coming about have driven our cost up, and we haven't seen commensurate increases in reimbursement to help offset them. With the merger, we're going to be able to consolidate administrative, clinical, and other support services that will help us save money so that we can continue to jointly provide the level of care that people in our community have come to expect.
So while this will go in effect on the 23rd, does that mean there's a name change? Are you closing an office? Are you all still going to be all at the same place?
We will still, it'll be Hospice of Central New York.
Okay.
They will maintain a presence in our office in Auburn, so the Hospice of the Finger Lakes office, and they will be able to utilize the Hospice of the Finger Lakes name as well.
And
but it will be Hospice of Central New York.
Okay, and so will you still keep things like this thrift shop? You mentioned the camp that's kind of merging. That won't be there, but we still have this. Is the thrift shop still going to be part?
We're going to try and continue to work with some of the local fundraisers, including the thrift shop, to look to make sure that the monies raised local stay local.
Okay.
So in as I say, our volunteers are so committed to the thrift shop, so those funds that are raised there will help support local patients.
So if I was to come to Hospice today, and I was to come to Hospice, hopefully not on January 3rd, besides the name change, what am I going to see?
So our staff are being hired by Hospice of Central New York. So I think we're going to see pretty much the same staff. Our head nurse right now, our patient care manager, Diane Lazowski, has been working with us a couple years, half-time with us, half-time with Hospice of Central New York. She'll be full-time.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
I think we'll see an enhancement in the staff. Right now, I was telling Tim and Doug, their IT director has been on site. They're already working on IT enhancements so that we can have remote.
So you're not really going to see a lot of change other than maybe the name and maybe some.
And they can still utilize the Hospice of the Finger Lakes name.
Yes.
Okay.
In Cuyahoga
Yes.
County and the western Onondaga. So that you may not even see that change.
And which is great that maybe we did have technical difficulties because 2 weeks ago you didn't know about staffing, that you did because you've had a board meeting since then. That's why we couldn't take last week.
Right.
So Will you two still be staying around? Will some of your board? Is there going to be a local board? How is that all going to work?
So Hospice of Central New York is going to allow us to place 2 members of our board on their board of directors.
Okay.
We will add one of their board members onto our board of directors.
So you'll still have a board, an advisory board here?
That's correct, and we're going to function now as Comfort Care of Cayuga County, which is really the legal name of Hospice of the Fingerlings, and we're going to be a fundraising organization, as Terry said.
So you're shifting to just solely funds?
Solely raise funds that can be to pay for hospice services in Cayuga County and Western Onondaga.
And support the building, because we continue to be the owners of the building.
So you're still going to be on Corporate Drive, and so for the vast majority of people, this change is going to be seamless. They're not going to notice anything.
You know, and we have had to work very closely with the health department on this, and that's what they're saying.
So you've canceled on me 3 times.
Seamless.
And usually, after somebody cancels the second time, we don't invite them back. You're different. So one of the reasons, because you would call me, we'd see each other in the park, and you'd say, you had to get approval for this.
Yes.
And it was.
It has to come to us.
Yeah, it's not an easy process.
We had to get approval.
From who?
From the Department of Health.
Okay. State Department?
Syracuse, yes, Syracuse and Albany. And then Syracuse had to get approval to come into our community. So through the health department.
And you couldn't say anything about this?
We could not say anything until May.
Okay. And by that time, we were already into the next year up here. So
yes, thank you.
But you've also had some support of local foundations and local not-for-profits to do this. This was
we have been very blessed with support from, as Tim already mentioned, the Allen Foundation has helped support this, the Emerson Foundation. We've been very forthcoming with some of the other foundations as well. The Schwartz Foundation actually gave us money to upgrade our carpeting and painting, which will happen, you know,
so people are still giving, even though there's a change, they know it's still
We've been very forthcoming.
So the big issue really is just the reimbursement, the financial model has changed since before.
And there's more, you know, we're a pretty tight staff, and there will be more support. There's an HR manager, there's an IT director, you know, we don't have that level of staffing. So it's primarily clinical.
Okay, so
we have clinical.
I did want to talk, and I know Mr. Parker is, so just we talked about your backgrounds, 25 years plus with hospice. You were with Welch Allen?
I was with Welch Allen, and I'm now with a company down in Ithaca.
Okay, and what do you do for them?
Marketing.
Okay. Mr. Parker, Auburn Police Department for how long?
Retired 40 years.
40 years, okay. So
40 years.
People who see you there. But you are also one of those helping us talk about the Light Up a Life. What is it?
It is a tree lighting ceremonies that's going to be held this Thursday afternoon at Hope's Park. For anybody that has always been curious about seeing a Christmas tree in the gazebo at Hope's Park when they drove by, that is our tree for the community, a gift to the community. We're in the 31st year of this ceremony, and for the last 20 years we've been at Hope's Park. The ceremony begins at 4 o'clock in the clubhouse. There'll be refreshments, and there'll be singing of Christmas carols inside. And music will be performed by the Perform for Purpose.
So we had them on a couple of weeks ago, so you have some students up there. Yes. They were just playing at the
Equal Rights
Heritage on Saturday night for the parade. So you've got them. So this is a fundraiser, though.
This is a fundraiser, and there will be envelopes and ornaments that will be available at the clubhouse for anybody that wants to give afterwards, after the ceremony. The ornament itself is something that you can take with you and then sign the center of it with the name of the person that you want to remember. We have a tree inside the lobby at our office on Corporate Drive.
And that's where these will go?
Yes.
Okay, so these don't go on the Hoops Park tree?
No.
We will have a tree.
Yes.
we have some LPN students from BOCES that are needing to do some volunteer work, and they're going to help at the Light Up a Life, and they're putting up our tree this year.
So is there a specific price for this, or it's just you come up with your own donation? So if it's
Your own donations.
$10 or $100
Yes.
or $1,000,
Yep.
Yes.
just make it out. And but it's a fun event at
Yes.
Hoops Park.
Yes.
Is there a program with it? Or is it
So
mainly the students
the music,
performing?
we'll have a few remarks, and then we have at the
The ceremony itself for the tree lighting is at 4:45 at the gazebo.
Okay, and if we are taping this on Tuesday, it plays on Thursday after it plays tonight, but it also plays in future shows after this. You can still donate. So whether it's doing this, and you can do this anytime.
anytime.
We have put the website for Hospice on there. You can also call your
Call our
office.
stop by.
Stop by, and it's 253.
255-2733.
All right, say that again.
255-2733.
Okay, so we'll give that out one more time, but you can do that way as well.
Correct.
And how big a fundraiser is this?
Last year we brought in over 25,000.
So okay, so
It's
this
significant.
and it's a fun event.
Yes,
Yes.
it really is a
Yes.
fun event.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
And hopefully you will have snow. The question is how much snow you will have. So again, if you want to participate in Light Up a Life, you can go online. You can just show up. If this is Tuesday night, just show up Thursday at 4 o'clock.
Yep.
Performer for Purpose will be there. This is a fun event. This is a way for you to contribute to Hospice of the Finger Lakes. The money stays local and it helps people in this community.
exactly.
All right.
I was going to say, and just for a plug for Perform for Purpose, they are fantastic. Jim and his committee, they do a wonderful job. But the kids, I think it's the 4th year they've been with us.
Okay, yeah. Jim
Isn't it?
Barnett,
Yeah.
we had
Yeah.
three of the students
They
here
were-
a couple weeks ago.
we watched.
They are the best.
They are wonderful.
And they're, they're great cheerleaders for the community.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you for being here. Thank you for coming back in the studio to do this. We have had Terry
Thank you.
KLINE, who is the Executive Director of Hospice for the Finger Lakes, their Board Chair, Tim Callahan, as well as Board Secretary Doug Parker. I want to thank them for updating us on what is going on with Hospice of the Finger Lakes. We encourage you to go to Light Up a Life this Thursday, the 29th at Hoops Park. On a more personal note, we want to wish Ms. Klein all the best. We're not sure what she's doing over this, but you just heard she's been there 25 years, and she has worked with, in one of the fields that is one of the toughest roles that there are in any community. And for her caring, we want to thank you for all
Thank
that.
you.
And thank you for really working on the schedule that. Our final Inside Government show of the season will be our annual visit with Santa this Thursday, November 29th. As soon as he leaves here, I'm going over to Hoops Park. Before we go, though, we would like to let you know that you can send us your ideas for guests or for questions for Inside Government. Will be on the front page for the next semester, which will start in February. You can do that at cozguytho@aol.com or Inside Government, 141 Dunning Avenue, Auburn, New York, 13021. I'm Guy Cosentino for KU Community College, and thank you for watching. Have a good night and have a great tomorrow.